Hi, my name is Brittany Hendrix. I work for the University of Kentucky. I'm a research technician that works under Dr. Chris Teutsch in the Forages Department at the Princeton Research Station. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about the what and where of testing. So one of the most common questions we get is, can you test my pasture? So for us, this is a very generic question. It can mean a lot of different things. Maybe you know specifically what you mean, maybe you don't. And if you don't, hopefully this presentation can help you kind of narrow down what testing you're looking for. So instead of, can you test my pasture, if your question looks more like, do I need to fertilize or add lime to my pastures, we would direct you to soil testing. If your question looks more like, is the hay that I'm providing meeting the energy or protein or starch needs of my animals, we would direct you to hay sampling. If you're wanting more of an in-depth answer, kind of something that's not just covered by a quick numerical answer, maybe you're looking at pasture evaluation. This will cover more complex questions like, do I need to overseed or spray for weeds? How about what species are even in my pasture? Is the stocking density appropriate? Things like that. We would direct you to the pasture evaluation program at UK. And lastly, if you are worried about tall fescue, especially if you have brood mares, we would direct you to ergovaline testing. So I'm going to go through all four of these testing methods, just give you a brief kind of why you should do it, and then I don't have time to go through an exact step-by-step how-to for each of them, but I will direct you to resources that will help you do that if that's the type of testing you're looking for. So I'm going to start with soil testing. Thought it'd be nice to start literally and figuratively from the ground up. So why should you even bother testing your soil? Seems kind of obvious to say, but we have to remember that soil is the medium in which all of our forages grow. And a healthy, balanced soil is a key component to having good pastures. Something else you might not know is the reason we have sort of an ideal pH range is because between 6.2 and 7.3, most of the nutrients we would put on our pasture are actually available to our plants. So the soil pH does impact that nutrient availability to our forage. So if you have pastures that have a very low pH, they may look like they need fertilizer, but you could apply tons and tons of fertilizer. But if your pH is not within that ideal range where your plants can absorb those nutrients, you won't get the desired results you're looking for. Another point I wanted to make is that a lot of times we think we have a weed problem in our pastures, and we really just have a low fertility problem in our pastures. Many of our kind of weeds or undesirable forage species, such as broom sedge, thrive in low fertility environments, and if we can just bring up our soil fertility, we will give those desirable species the competitive edge they need over these weeds. Kind of going through how can you test your soil. If you go through UK, this is through the UK Division of Regulatory Services. Something I'm going to mention many times throughout the presentation is talk with your county extension agent. It's recommended to submit your soil samples through their office. They can often lend you a soil probe or actually come out and help sample with you. They should also have sample bags, but if they don't, you can also use a Ziploc bag to collect your soil samples. If you are just very busy and you want a super easy, full-service, hands-off approach, there are also private companies that offer soil testing for you. If you do decide to sample yourself, the most important thing, and again this will be repeated throughout the presentation, is remember to follow the guidelines for proper sampling. So here's two of our extension publications that will help you kind of like a guide on how to soil sample for pastures. So if you just type UKY and then these numerical designations here, it'll pull that publication right up, and I will show you some screen grabs of them here in a second. And then be sure your bags are labeled clearly with your field names. Your results don't mean anything if you get them back and you don't know which field they go to. And if you do submit, make sure you use the pasture hay submittal form for the soil testing on the soil testing website. Those results have been kind of calibrated for the depth you're going to soil sample at for pastures, and it'll also give you recommendations on fertilizer that will make more sense for the pasture setting. So here's a screenshot of one of those publications I was referring to earlier. It says Soil Sampling Pastures and Hayfields. And this publication will go through, you can see the picture here, it'll show you how to move through the pasture to sample, what depth to sample at, areas to avoid, kind of go like a real step-by-step guide if you've never soil sampled before. It'll also include pictures like the one on the right. This is showing the proper soil sampling depth for pastures, which is 4 inches. Most of the time you're just going to want a routine soil test, especially for horse pastures. Sometimes the organic matter can be of interest, but I mean, you can see the cost is very reasonable. And I also included a screenshot on the right-hand side. Some counties, check with your county conservation district, because some have programs that make soil sampling even cheaper or actually free. So Woodford County has free soil sampling up to 20 samples a year, which is a lot more than most people would use. If you do submit it yourself, this is what that pasture hay submittal form looks like. I know I'm a very visual learner, so it helps me to kind of see pictures of what these should look like when I go searching for them later. This is an example of what that report will look like once you get it back. So the report is going to include your actual soil test values in the results column here. So this is the numerical value of what your soil actually tested as. So for this example, this phosphorus value was 14. It'll also give you in the middle here a results range. So this gives you some context on what those numbers mean. So we can see that 14 is in the low range. This also inadvertently gives you the probability that your pastures will respond to fertilizer. So if you have a very low value, you have a high chance of having a fertilizer response, and vice versa. And then lastly, on the rightmost column, there'll be the actual recommendation of fertilizer and lime amounts. So I'll move into hay sampling. And why should you test your hay? Forage should make up the vast majority of our horses' diets. That may come in a lot of forms, such as pasture hay, alfalfa pellets, things like that, but there should always be a forage base. And testing that hay is the only way to know the actual nutritional value. So there's a lot of things we can look at for hay to kind of give indication of quality, maybe color, smell, presence of seed heads, but the only way to know the actual numerical value of that hay is to get it tested. So you can't look at two hays and tell, oh, this one's 8% crude protein, this one's 12. But that may make the difference between meeting or not meeting your animal's needs. And then we're going to match that hay quality to the animal needs. A lot of you are probably doing this already in some capacity, right? If you have a very high quality alfalfa, you're probably not feeding it to your miniature horse. He's probably gaining weight just standing next to that alfalfa hay. So we want to match that lower quality. When I say lower quality, I don't mean poor quality, just lesser maybe calorie or protein amounts. We want to match that to our maintenance, easy keepers, maybe horses with metabolic disorders. And then our really high quality hay, that's going to be our animals that have a lot of energy needs. So that's performance horses, lactating mares, maybe growing yearlings, things like that. So how can we test hay? So again, if you go through UK, this is managed by the Division of Regulatory Services. They now have an equine specific hay analysis, so make sure you check that if you're testing your horse hay. And again, talk with your extension agent. You can submit samples through their office. They will likely have a hay probe that you can check out. They may even be able to come with you and help sample. You can submit them directly to the UK DRS using a producer form. And again, there's private companies that can just be a very easy full service testing for you. And then we want to follow, again, proper sampling procedures. So this AGR 257 is the UK publication that will help you with hay sampling. There's also, on the National Forage Testing Association's website, they have a great bit on how to take a good hay sample. The exact number of cores you're going to take is going to depend on the length of your hay probe and the density of your bales, but we say we want to shoot for at least a minimum of a 1-quart Ziploc bag full of hay. And again, it's very important to label your bags clearly so that you can use these results later. And for hay, we want to sample that in what we call a lot. So a lot is a cutting field combo. So 2 different cuttings out of the same field would be 2 different lots, and a cutting at the same time in 2 different fields would be 2 different lots. If you buy your hay, you can also label it, maybe where you got it from, what kind it is, the date you got it in, stuff like that. You just want to be able to know when you get those results back what hay it's referring to. And then here's a screenshot of that UK publication I mentioned a second ago. This is a great one. It's got kind of key highlight points. It'll go through step by step on how to sample your hay. It includes a lot of pictures like you see on the right hand side, because the location you sample the bale depends on if it's a round bale or square bale. So this is a really good publication to get you started on sampling yourself. And this is what that submission form will look like. The lab tests the samples through NIR, and you can see on the right hand side all of the parameters you're going to get back, and then make sure you select that equine report type if that's what you're looking for, because that'll give you values that is mostly used in the equine industry, like digestible energy. And here is an example of what one of those reports might look like. So you will see on the left-hand side all of the parameters, and then it will give that to you both as an as-sampled and a dry matter basis. The as-sampled is important because that's how you're feeding the hay or forage to the animal. The dry matter basis is usually used in ration calculations to just put everything on an equal playing field. The moisture level can also give you a good idea of whether or not your hay might be kind of prone to or in danger of molding. Okay, and then we'll move to pasture evaluation. So why should you have your pastures evaluated? You can have or learn a lot of good information just speaking to your extension agent, having them come out and see your farm. They can give you good advice, but if you want a really in-depth pasture by pasture assessment looking at species composition and all kinds of other detail, we would sort of steer you towards signing up for pasture evaluation. Their report includes recommendations on a lot of things, such as weed control. You need to potentially reestablish this pasture. If you have a lot of tall fescue, what you can do to mitigate it, what the ergovaline levels look like, weed control. Like I said, very in-depth pasture by pasture assessment. So how can you sign up for this? This is through the UK Horse Pasture Evaluation Program. This is a fee-based service based on acreage, and you can sign up for a no obligation quote. Sign up opens in late February to early March. Anyone who is at the Equines and Endophytes workshop will receive an email when the enrollment is open. This is a first come, first served basis, and the program does fill up quickly, so I would recommend you signing up sooner rather than later if you're interested in this. And those evaluations will occur primarily through mid-May through mid-August. Once Krista and her team get to your farm, it's a relatively quick turnaround time, but it may be a few months just depending on where you are on the list before they can get to you. Here's an example of some of the species that they may tell you about on your species composition. They'll throw out quadrats throughout your pasture and kind of note the major forage in each one, and then compile this to get percentages. They're going to be looking at our desirable cool season grasses like fescue, bluegrass, orchard grass, some of the legumes like clover, weeds like warm season annual grasses, nimblewill, some of the broadleaf weeds, and also bare soil. And then here's an example of what that report will look like when you get it. So it'll have on the left-hand side the parameter they were looking at, the recommendation in the next column, and then a little bit more detail on that recommendation. Okay, and then lastly, we'll talk about ergovaline testing. So why should you test for ergovaline? So this is the toxic compound found in Kentucky 31 tall fescue. It is an ergot alkaloid produced by an endophyte found within the plant. And this endophyte is actually intercellular, so it is found between the cells of the plant. So it's impossible to look at a plant and know whether or not this plant is infected. And this ergovaline toxicity is responsible for a lot of the problems we see with broodmares, particularly last trimester broodmares. Some of the symptoms include prolonged gestation, dystocia, which is trouble foaling, red bag, which is a premature detachment of the placenta, and achalactia, which is when your mare produces little to no milk for her foal. And then testing pastures can tell you if they're going to be safe for your horses. But once again, and especially for this one, it is crucial to follow proper testing procedures for accurate results. Also wanted to note that ergovaline levels vary based on plant maturity, time of year, environmental stressors, management. So this test only tells you how much there is at the time of sampling. So this is still good for comparing pastures at a set point in time or testing the pastures during critical times for your horse, which for broodmares would be in the last 30 to 60 days prior to foaling. And then here's an example of just one of the ergovaline guides that we would use for these late-term mares. So you can see we're mostly looking at the content and total diet in parts per billion. So this is, again, another plug for the pasture evaluation program. This is why species makeup and pasture composition matters in determining what your total levels of ergovaline are in the diet. And then how can we test for ergovaline? So this one is handled by the UK Veterinary Diagnostic Lab. This is the one on Newtown Pike. I was told most of you would know it's the same place you would take a placenta. And testing yourself for this one is really easy and significantly faster than waiting for assistance. You can most likely have your results back before someone might be able to even come out and take your sample. There's written instructions on how to do this on the UK Veterinary Diagnostic Lab website. And there's also a great YouTube video from our team. I've included the title here, so you can look this up in YouTube later. And one thing with this one is to be sure you're only including fescue in your sample. So it's the only plant that you're going to be concerned about as far as for testing for ergovaline. This AGR 175 is a forage ID and use guide. I'll show you that here on the upcoming slide. And this can help give you some ID points for identifying fescue. And you can also have your extension agent come out and help you with plant identification. If you take nothing else away from this, I want you to remember that if you are testing for ergovaline, it is crucial that you keep that sample both dark and cold. Degradation of ergovaline in fresh samples happens really, really quickly, minutes to hours after cutting. So if you cut this sample and it's not properly taken care of, it might degrade, and then when you get your results back from the lab, it will look like your values are low, but in fact they could be high, and you might think these pastures are safe when they're not. So for this reason, it's recommended to bring a small cooler along to sample, and then just put them in there immediately after cutting on ice. One like this pictured here is very handy because it's got that little flip top that makes it easy to kind of quickly put samples in and out. If you search for something called a rice knife, it's made for cutting forage. You can use a pocket knife or scissors or other things like that, but as inexpensive as these are on Amazon, I think it's probably worth the trouble to look into one of these. And there's a relatively quick turnaround time. Here's that AGR 175 forage ID and use guide, and there's a whole page on tall fescue that will help you identify it by different parts of the plant. Here's a screenshot of that sample collection guideline on the Vet Diagnostic Lab website. So they'll go through a written kind of step-by-step how they want you to collect the sample. And you'll submit it with the same accession form that you use for other samples. Instead of an animal ID or name, you'll just put fescue sample or maybe your pasture identifier if you've taken multiple samples. And then on the back, under toxicology, you'll select that ergovaline test. And then here's what that report will look like when you get it back. So you can see on the right-hand side here, you'll get your results for that field in parts per billion. You can then use this and compare it to that chart I referenced earlier based on a combo of what your results are and what % of your animal's diet is is fescue. So just a summary, key points to take away. Try to narrow down what exactly it is you want to know about your pasture or forage. And then doing that can help us find the best test that will fit your question. And again, our extension agents are a fantastic resource. They can help you every step of the way from sampling process, sample submission, interpreting results. Like I said, just kind of the whole deal. They're a great resource. Definitely talk to yours. Many types of sampling can also be done by you, though. Just knowing proper sampling procedures and what tests to ask for are going to be your keys to success. And again, there's always private companies that'll offer just simple, straightforward, full-service testing. And I've just included this slide at the end here as kind of a one-stop shop for all those publications I mentioned, relevant to each type of sampling. And I've also included some URLs to either helpful websites or videos that you can also search and help you get more information about that kind of testing. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.